Today I just want to do a brief, really brief and crass perhaps, overview of something I've referred to in previous videos when I talk about soil testing or the soil food web or compost tea. All subjects which, really require a little bit more time, but we'll follow that up in a few future videos. For today though, I thought we could do one thing, and that's to go over a recent soil test I just got back from the lab, from Harrington's lab in Connecticut. And a customer was concerned about their rhododendrons that had been planted a few years ago. They weren't looking so good. And we had been doing some basic treatments for them for a little while, and they hadn't changed much. So we decided to do a soil test. And this is that test, the results of that test. I'll show you. So this test is going to be very different than your typical test that you can sometimes get for free or for just a few dollars, sending it into your local extension places, or that you could do yourself possibly, which are good pieces of information but not complete, or not full enough to be able to make some better deductions when you're in a situation where you kind of scratching your head a little bit. So what I wanted to point out here, and I'm going to cruise right over this fast and we'll hit up pieces of this in the future. Generally, when you're getting a soil test done, the type of test you're going to get is going to give you these items up here. It's going to give you your pH, it's going to give you organic matter likely, perhaps your nitrogen, and also then it will tell you here these calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, your macro and your micro or your trace elements. And it's going to tell you what's in the soil and how much. Often it might say high, low, medium. And we call these reserve nutrients. These are important. This kind of a test is going to tell you, again, your pH, your organic matter, and what kind and how much of each of these elements is in the soil. These are potential foods for the plant. And I use the word potential because although these might show up like in this test, there's a medium amounts of calcium, high amounts of magnesium and sodium. So in the macro, the elements, there's plenty, or almost too much in some places. The trace elements have a few deficiencies. So this basically, the way I like to say it is, this is like the food that's in the kitchen, in the cupboards, or frozen, that one has. It's food that is there in the kitchen, but it's not available. It's not been prepared. The plants can't actually access these nutrients at all in the condition that they are measured here. The second part of the test, which is the plant available nutrients, this is the expensive part of the test. This part you could probably get done for free or 15 bucks. This whole test over here is going to cost maybe $75 and another $40 or $50 for an interpretation and recommendations. But what it does tell us is amazing, really. So we see that there's a medium amount of calcium in these soils, but the amount that's available to the plant is low. Again, when we look at discrepancies, we look over here, we see there's a high amount of phosphorus, which is necessary, but also moves very easily in the soil. But the amount that's available to the plant is minuscule. The range is 15 to 24 desired, and it has 0.33. Again, and the amount that it's showing that is in the soil is the desired range is 25 to 50. It's 233. There's a massive amount of phosphorus here, but it's not getting to the plants. It's frozen. It's as though the kids come home and they want to have dinner, and mom puts out frozen, or dad puts out frozen food on the table. It's nice to have a lot of food, but if it can't be ingested and digested, then it's useless. We see the same situation here. We see high amount of iron, low amount available to the plant. medium amount of copper, low amount available. These other ones, we have some low amounts that are even in the soil and some high amounts that are in the soil. We can talk about that another time. But what we can determine from this is that whose ever job it is to make this calcium edible and in a form that's consumable by the roots, and this phosphorus, this iron, and this copper, whose ever job that is to do that is not there, or they're not able to function completely. And those chefs, as we call them, who would prepare that, in our world we call them, those are the microbes. Those are the soil food web is what prepares this food into a form that can be consumed by the roots. There are all sorts of microbes, fungi and bacteria, nematodes and protozoa, and these sorts of things are, when the soil is healthy, are able to be working and cooperating with each other, as well as with the roots of the trees and the plants. The plants actually send out little sugar snacks, attracts these sort of microbes over there, and these guys all have a little snack. While they're doing that, they're sort of digesting minerals that are in the area and ingesting that. And when they go to process that through their bodies, the final product is basically a prepared meal, balanced meal for the roots of the tree to be able to take up. When we use salt fertilizers, which are most common, most synthetic fertilizers are laden with salts, and after a while, the salts that are left behind when those products are used, in the aftermath is the dying back or the minimization or even killing of the soil food web. Salt in water, if you were to drink salt water, it would mess you up, and it messes up microbes. And so the salt fertilizers can be a good shot in the arm and sort of prop up a plant a little bit, perhaps like a feeding tube could, but it's bypassing the entire digestive system that is intended and will really help the plant to sustain a long and happy life. So what we do here is we would make some guesses here. If the soil is not compacted, because there's if there's no oxygen, if we determine that's fine, there's no lack of oxygen, it's not really hard and compact, then we can sort of surmise that there's probably a deficiency in these microorganisms. And in that situation, we can make compost tea, which is just teeming with life. And I won't describe that in this video, but that's one of the things that we do at Usher Plant Care. And one of the things that is sort of fun and the exciting part of our work is just reintroducing into nature where people have interfered, either mechanically with tools or just throwing dirt down and expecting plants to grow. We love being able to kind of jumpstart and bring back to its sort of more original state soils, which are really the stomach and the life force for plants and ultimately for people. That's where our nutrition comes from and our oxygen and all that. So it's fun to do this, and we'll continue another time with some talks about soil food web, about compost tea, and at some point we'll do a little microscopy lesson, and maybe we can show some of the living organisms under a microscope. So anyway, that's it for today. If you have any questions and you want to reach out to us, please do. We love to test soil and give education both for our customers and for the planet. Have a great day.